Leader of the Opposition Business in the Senate. We will begin our briefing in 2 minutes. Thank you for attending, and please share the link.
My voice check. You ain't on it. Sorry, you ain't on it. One.
Good morning to the people of our beloved Twin Island Republic State. Good morning to all those who are listening to this live broadcast media briefing this morning being held at the headquarters of the United National Congress, the alternative government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Today we continue to keep our viewers, our members, and the people of Trinidad and Tobago informed of developments in our Twin Island Republic State. There are, in fact, a few issues that we would like to pay attention to and bring to your notice during this media briefing today. First of all, we want to deal with the UNC as an institution and as an organization with solid and strong, resilient democratic principles. And thereafter, we want to just focus on a few burning issues affecting Trinidad and Tobago as we speak. Among them would be the property tax, borrowings, lack of diversification of our economy, the exposure of the financial sector to the NICOAN scandal and collapse. And of course, we want to look at the latest scandal in the feeding frenzy at the trough involving another minister of government. Members of the media, the United National Congress stands on very strong and resilient democratic principles. We were born 35 years ago on Tuesday the 30th of April 2024 will mark the 35th anniversary of the founding of this great and glorious institution called the United National Congress. I want to remind Trinidad and Tobago and the hundreds of thousands of our supporters, well-wishers, associates, and friends that it was on the 16th of October 1988, in the slush, in the mud, in the rain, a mandate was given by close to 40,000 citizens to proceed to form the United National Congress, which was born, as I said earlier, on Sunday, April the 30th, 1989. This party came into existence on the blood, sweat, and tears of the masses of people who were seeking a vehicle, an instrument of defense against the oppressors, against the parasitic oligarchy, and against the elite who were exploiting and oppressing our people, making them into hewers of wood and drawers of water. The United National Congress came into being, was brought into being by hundreds of thousands of ordinary people to make life lighter and better for them, to improve their quality of life and their standard of living. That is what the UNC is. It is not a rich man party. It is not an elitist party. It is a party of the working man and woman in Trinidad and Tobago. So we need to understand, when we talk about the United National Congress, exactly what we are talking about. And today, I want to tell you that the United National Congress stand in the gap between the PNM and the establishment of a full-fledged dictatorship in Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and sisters, make no mistake about it. The parasitic oligarchy, the Port of Spain elite have an interest in ensuring that the rich become richer and the poor become poorer. Is it any wonder that their political instrument their agents in government, called the PNM, have destroyed, subverted, poisoned, undermined all our democratic, independent institutions? Is it any wonder? Even the Integrity Commission has been infiltrated by PNM agents. That you can get a genuine integrity letterhead being circulated about some fake investigation involving the Secretary of Infrastructure in the Tobago House of Assembly. And the Integrity Commission was forced to issue a statement indicating that that letter that was in circulation was fake news. Could you imagine that? The Integrity Commission? Ladies and gentlemen, the SSA and the leadership of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service seem to be under the complete control of the political directorate in Trinidad and Tobago as we speak. That is where we are. That is where we have reached today, ladies and gentlemen. And therefore, this is no Mickey Mouse arrangement that we are engaging. This is a battle. This is a struggle, a titanic struggle, literally, of life and death. Because if we don't get it right, our fate is that of Venezuela, where opposition leaders are being incarcerated. Our fate, ladies and gentlemen, is that of Haiti, where the gangs have taken control of the capital. That is where we are heading. So we have to be very conscious of where we are as a party, as a people in Trinidad and Tobago. And that is why we have to make it very clear that the United National Congress, its history is rich with its commitment to not only its constitution, but the very tenets of democracy, the rule of law. That is where we are. That is where we have come from. The one man, one woman, one vote. So it is misguided for anyone to give the impression that our great and glorious party is veering away from those rich traditions. Elections in the UNC will be held when they are due. So don't bully the executive. Don't bully the party. It is mischievous to attempt that. So, brothers and sisters, the PNM is on a desperate mission as we speak. They have nothing to show after some 8.5 years, going into 9 years of ruling this country.
after spending some $500 billion, Trinidad and Tobago is without a regular supply of pipe-borne water as we speak. Unemployment continues to rise. Over 12,000 graduates of the university cannot find jobs. Income inequality and wealth disparity have worsened under this regime. Crime, safety, and security of property and one's life, we know that has been cheapened under this regime.
So they have nothing to show. So, brothers, what we have at this time is an attempt by the parasitic oligarchy and their friends to do whatever they can, but we will not allow it. To attempt to destabilize. The only political instrument, the only political vehicle that can bring about genuine transformation, the only political vehicle that can bring about genuine change in the interest of the masses is the United National Congress. And as I said, we have had a very rich tradition of holding democratic elections in our party. That has been our history. When they are due, they are going to take place. And that is a matter for the national executive of our party and the membership of our party to decide upon. So I think it's important that we make that abundantly clear
from the very outset. There's one party, there's one vision, and there's one leader. We have one common enemy. The enemy of the people is the ruling party. Everyone in Trinidad and Tobago must be laser focused on removing this corrupt, incompetent, kleptocratic PNM administration from the corridors of power. And we must allow no one to divert us, to derail us, to digress us, or detract us from that mission and that goal and that objective. We have to unite as one to achieve our common purpose on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Do not attack the masses. Do not attack our supporters. Do not attack the people of Trinidad and Tobago that are dying and are thirsty for change and to remove this criminal enterprise posing as a government in Trinidad and Tobago. It is a life and death struggle. That is what we are engaged in. Any mistake can cost us our very lives in Trinidad and Tobago.
That is where we are today.
And we have to recognize and appreciate that this institution called the United National Congress is bigger than any individual. I want to repeat. The United National Congress as an institution founded by the working class and ordinary people of our land is bigger than any individual in Trinidad and Tobago. Is bigger than any individual in our party. Because our mission, our objective, our goal is to improve the democracy, to improve the governance, to improve the quality of life, to improve the standard of living of every man, woman, and child in our land. And to use the resources not to enrich ourselves, as how the PNM has been doing for the last 8.5 years, but to use our resources to prioritize the interests of the people so that we can make their life lighter, so that we can improve their standard of living, so that we can generate the transformation and the diversification absolutely essential for our progress and development as a nation, so that everyone can live in peace, unity, harmony, and happiness. The principles of our party must be restated. We stand for national unity. In the big tent of the UNC, there is room for everyone. We are committed to national unity. We are committed to social justice for all. We are committed to equal opportunity for all. And we are committed to genuine freedom for all. We are violently opposed to authoritarianism. We are opposed to fascism. And we are opposed, brothers and sisters, to all tendencies towards dictatorship. And we will fight relentlessly against all those tendencies whenever they rear their ugly heads in Trinidad and Tobago.
That is who we are. And that is what we stand for. And that is what we are committed to. And that is where we are heading as we prepare for the next general elections in Trinidad and Tobago. But what have we witnessed, brothers and sisters, over the last few years? We have witnessed a government that has weaponized the state in order to promote their selfish interests. That is what we have witnessed. So the cabinet has now been transformed into a business club. Everyone is hustling to get a contract or to get some kind of benefit. They are all feeding at the trough. That is what we are getting in return. So Stuart Young has recused himself on over 100 times because of family interest and commitment that comes before the cabinet. So he has to recuse himself. Same with Al-Wari. Even the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance have had to recuse themselves. Even the Minister of Health have had to do it. So they have engaged in inappropriate expenditure of the taxpayer dollar. They bought 2 Cape-class vessels from the Australian authorities that was supposed to cost $300 million TT. They paid $600 million, and they cannot explain to Trinidad and Tobago where the next $300 million gone. A prime minister resident in Tobago started off at $2 million in renovation, went to full reconstruction, $65 million and counting. And it has been almost cost overruns. It has been inappropriate spending. It has been kleptocracy and kleptocratic behavior by this administration. And what has been the end result? The end result, ladies and gentlemen, is that Trinidad and Tobago is at its worst after 9 years of PNM misrule in this country. So much so that they have had to borrow. They have had to borrow. Would you believe that the PNM has borrowed close to $45 billion with the recent additional $10 billion that they got through approval in the both houses via simple majority? Could you imagine? In less than 9 years, the PNM has borrowed or is about to borrow some $45 billion. It took 14 governments over a 51-year period to borrow $30 billion. The PNM has taken less than 9 years to surpass that by $15 billion. They are now $45 billion. And that doesn't take into account their raids
on the Heritage and Stabilization Fund of close to $10 billion over the last 9 years.
And what do we have to show for it? You know what we have to show for it? Over 4,000 citizens
murdered in the last 8.5 years. You know what we have to show for it? The middle class have shrunk. The cost of living has gone through the roof. They have increased fuel prices. Diesel from $1.50 under the People's Partnership to $3.91 per liter. They have increased on 6 different occasions super unleaded from $2.70 per liter to $6.97 per liter. 6 times. They have removed 7,000 non-vatable products that attracted no VAT. Those 7,000 products are now attracting 12.5% VAT. That is what they have done. So the government has utilized their power over the 9 years that they have been there to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. They offered the public officers, after some 8 years, from 2013 to 2019, 2020, a 4% increase. They offered the unorganized workers, close to 300,000 of them, 300,000, increase in the minimum wage from $17.50 to $20.50. What can that buy? What can that purchase? A loaf of bread is almost $20 today. That is where we are. So, brothers and sisters, they have borrowed and they have engaged in a spending spree. They have failed to diversify the economy. Natural gas production at its lowest in the last 20 years. Oil production at its lowest in the last 85 years. Out of the 18 plants at Point Lisas, only 9 are functioning from our information. And many of them are under capacity. They have a lot of spare capacity. The Atlas methanol plant is expected to shut its doors at the end of September. We will be unable to produce 1 million tons of methanol products for export. That will impact negatively on our revenue stream, on our foreign exchange earnings. Brothers and sisters, and natural gas production, which stood at 4.2 billion back in 2009, 2010, and when we left in 2015, it was 3.9 billion standard cubic feet of natural gas. Today, we are producing and generating some 2.5 to 2.6 billion standard cubic feet. And Moody's have predicted by 2025, 2026, we will be down to 2.3 billion standard cubic feet of gas. That is where the PNM has taken our country today.
And whilst all that is taking place, all the PNM can offer the country is more hardship and more difficulties. So in today's Express, what do we have? This is the headline in today's Express. This is the headline in today's Express. And this is the smoke, you know. The fire is to come. Some 200 managers are to go. And from our research and our intelligence, out of the 5,000 WASA workers, over 2,000 to 2,500 have to go. The government will be retrenching. It's only a matter of time. And then remember, electricity rates are to go up, water rates are to go up. Water rates are to go up. All of these things are pending, my brothers and sisters. And the most atrocious, evil act of this government is to impose the dreaded, draconian property tax on the backs of the residential owners of Trinidad and Tobago. That is where we are heading under this administration. We call it a poverty tax. They are coming for your homes. They are coming for your homes, brothers and sisters. We oppose the property tax. We are consistently in opposition to the property tax. And we have given an undertaking to Trinidad and Tobago that we shall repeal the Property Tax Act. And in the Land and Building Tax Act or Bill of 2011, I want to refer members of the media to clause 45 of that bill. That makes it very clear that we will repeal the property tax in Trinidad and Tobago. Members of the media, I want to bring to your attention a development that came to our attention through the pages of a small news outlet called AZP News. It was sometime early on last week, it came to our attention. And it was reported that a government minister was a major shareholder in a company that had rented its building to Pan Trinbago. It is there for all to read and all to see. In that newspaper story, the Minister of Tourism, Culture and the Arts admitted and confessed that he has an interest in that property at number 55 Don Donald Street in Port of Spain. The president of Pan Trinbago also indicated that Pan Trinbago was also renting
from that particular minister or from the company that the minister is a shareholder. What is interesting, members of the media, this minister has followed in the footsteps of Faris Alwari and his family. We have also been informed, and I'll be doing some further research, that a senior cabinet minister wife was recently given a contract in January of this year to power wash several buildings at the Mount Hope Medical Complex, including Building 26, A, B, and C, the amphitheaters. So we are calling on the senior minister to tell Trinidad and Tobago whether a contract has been awarded to his wife to power wash the Mount Hope Medical Complex buildings within that complex. Let's come back to this building at 55 Dundonald Street, Port of Spain. We were told in that article that some organization by the name of LMG, they are property managers, were given the contract to lease that building to tenants, and they were the ones collecting the rents. And when the minister was approached, he said he had an interest, but he does not collect rent. And the president of Pan Trinbago said they have paid no rent to the Minister of Tourism, Culture and the Arts. They pay rent to something called LMG. As I said, they are the property managers. Members of the media, I have before me a deed of conveyance in which a vendor by the name of Dr. Bruno Mitchell, I cast no aspersions on Dr. Bruno Mitchell. He sold a property at number 55 Dundonald Street for $6.5 million on the 14th of September 2021. The 14th of September 2021. Now, members of the media, I would like you to pay attention to the fact that this building called Dere Street Limited, D-E-R-E. That's the name of the company. D-E-R-E, Dere Street Limited. The evidence from the company's registry is showing that 2 ordinary shares were transferred from the transferor, one Bruno Mitchell, on the 10th of September 2021 to the following individuals. 1 ordinary share was transferred on the 10th of September 2021, and the transferee is one Randall Mitchell. That is what is before us today. And the 2nd ordinary share was transferred on the 10th of September 2021 to a lady by the name of Jana Mali
Coilas. So 2 shares were transferred from one Bruno Mitchell, I cast no aspersions on anyone, to one Randall Mitchell. I don't know if this is the same Randall Mitchell who is the Minister of Tourism, Culture and the Arts. I ask him to stand up and identify whether he is a 50% shareholder in a company called Dairy Street Limited. That is what I would like him, or Dairy Street Limited, we'd like him to identify. Now all this took place, ladies and gentlemen, from my records here, on the 17th of December 2021. What is of interest is the impeccable timing of this transaction. Pan Trinbago is renting a property at number 55 Dundonald Street, which is owned by Dairy Street Limited, or Dairy Street Limited, which is owned by 2 shareholders, according to the records we have. 50% by one Randall Mitchell, and another 50% by the lady called Coilas. So they are the owners of this company. Pan Trinbago is paying $50,000 a month in rent for a portion of that building. I want to emphasize this. A portion of that building. And $20,000 for use of a car park. So in all, we are talking about 50 plus 20 is $70,000 a month. We would like to know who is paying for this rental. Is it the people? Is it the taxpayers? Who is cutting these checks? Is it Pan Trinbago? Or is it the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago? I want to remind this media conference that the Minister of Tourism, Culture and the Arts became the Minister of Culture, Tourism, Culture and the Arts in August of 2020. In August of 2020. And from the information that we have, Pan Trinbago entered into a lease rental arrangement. I don't know if it's 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years. For $70,000 a month. Giving you a grand total, if it's for 3 years, of just $3 million or under $3 million. Pan Trinbago, from what we have seen and read, used to pay $5,000 a month when they were at the Amaro building, Victoria Avenue. They used to pay $15,000 when they were at a place called Israel Khan building. And when Mr. Khan asked for $5,000 more to increase it to $20,000, they protested. But they are paying $20,000 to this company called Dairy Street Limited through their property managers, LMG, $20,000 for a car park. $250,000 for rental for a portion of the property. We are not casting any aspersions on anyone. We are calling for answers, and we are calling for the minister to clear the air on this whole issue. Is the company called DS Street Limited owned by the minister and this individual called Coilas? Is LMG acting on behalf of DS Street Limited to collect these rents and car park fees? How long is this lease or rental arrangement for? And why this exorbitant rate? So we are asking questions and we are seeking clarification from the Honorable Minister on this particular issue. And to just close off on two small issues, members of the media, there is in fact an emerging crisis at the financial sector or in the financial sector involving the collapse of Naikwan. Some of our major banks are involved. Republic Bank, Royal Bank, Scotia Bank, First Citizens Bank, JMMB, credit unions. We understand it's close to $400 million. We need these banks to clear the air on their exposure to Naikwan collapse. And the last thing I'd like to raise on this matter is this issue of $2.4 million that the court has ordered be paid to a Venezuelan child because of his unlawful detention by the government of Trinidad and Tobago at the heliport at Chagaramas. $2.4 million for the unlawful detention of this child. What are the implications, ladies and gentlemen, of this development? Who is to take the blame for this development in Trinidad and Tobago? The former Minister of National Security was Edmund Dillon. They had no migrant policy. Stuart Young followed. No migrant policy. Now we have Minister Fitzgerald Hines. No migrant policy. The chairman and prime minister, the chairman of the National Security Council and prime minister, no migrant policy. And we, the taxpayers, are being called upon to find $2.4 million to pay for the unlawful detention of a child, amounting to $2.4 million. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, these are some of the issues that I wish to draw to your attention this morning as we address some of the burning issues affecting the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I will pause at this time, and if there are any questions members of the media would like to raise on the matters that I have raised this morning, I will now open the floor to the media so they can ask their questions. But in doing so, I just want to close by telling you that the total debt of Trinidad and Tobago after that $10 billion was approved in the Senate stands at 147 billion TT dollars. 147 billion dollars. I just wanted to tell you that. Members of the media, the floor is open to any questions you'd like to raise.
Good morning, Senator. You made mention of Mr. Mitchell and his possible connection to Day Street Limited, etc., right? But the other senior minister that you mentioned, another minister. You mentioned another minister with who wife was contracted for the Mount Hope Medical Complex. Who are we speaking about? Because you raised some questions, so as media we want to...
We are calling on that senior minister, without calling his name at this time, to indicate to you and to the public whether he has granted through his ministry a contract for power washing buildings at the Mount Hope Medical Complex to his wife. We are doing further research, and that is why I'm not calling his name at this time. But we are calling on him to tell the country if he has done what I have indicated. He knows himself. And that is why we are calling on him to indicate whether his ministry in January of 2024 has awarded a contract to his wife to power wash buildings at the Mount Hope Medical Complex, including Building 26, A, B, C, and D.
All right, okay. You started off at the press conference speaking about one party, one mission, but there seems to be an obvious divide at some point, because we had MP Fumayaro just held a press conference last week, a couple of days ago, and garnered a lot of support. There were, let's say, about 100 people there. So it's not just his opinion, and he's actually claiming that there are other members of the party, sitting MPs of the party, that are supporting him. They haven't come out publicly as yet, and there have been a few that have come out publicly. For example, Rodney Charles, etc. So if you're saying there's one party, what happens to these members who are saying something different to what you are saying?
One party meaning we have one vision, we have one united National Congress, and we have one leader. Until the NATEX, which is the National Executive, takes a decision consistent with the Constitution to hold internal elections, there is one party. And yes, we have a one-man, one-woman, one-vote system that allows over 100,000 members at the appropriate time to exercise their right of selecting a new executive. That time has not arrived. And all we are saying to everyone, all and sundry, we are a strong and resilient party with strong and democratic values and principles, who adhere to the Constitution of the United National Congress.
But paint a picture for me, or give me an idea. What is the atmosphere right now? Is there any sort of fear that, because Paris is saying that the party needs to refresh, that we need a change, that he's calling for this, when it's due in June, to have this, NATEX elections, and we are seeing more people coming out and they're supporting him, etc. Is there sort of a fear that, okay, maybe there's a possibility that we could see change in leadership? I know the actual election for the leadership of the party is not due until you can confirm when that's due for me as well. But are you thinking, okay, maybe more people really going to be on the side of Parry, and we might see some trouble for Kamala Persad-Bissessar? What do you think? Opposition?
If there's one thing I can tell you, I am 35 years in this party, and this party is 35 years old. So I am the same age of the party. And I have seen so many episodes unfold before my eyes. That is the richness, that is the strength of the United National Congress. We have a big tent, and in this big tent, there's room for everyone. And we believe in democratic principles, democratic values, and we have democratic ideals. We will, and the party executive, I'm sure, will do what they have to do at the appropriate time. And as you would know, we have a membership of over 100,000 people and rising and above. Those are the people who will decide if Wade Mark, if John Harry, if Jane Lois will emerge victorious. Only the members will determine the leaders as they have done over the years. So I have faith and I have confidence in the people, in the masses, in the membership of our party to take decisions in the interest of their own welfare and their own well-being. So I cannot speculate as you are speculating on the future. I can only deal with the reality. And the reality is that the United National Congress is committed to its democratic principles and values and adhere to its constitution. And anyone who is suggesting otherwise is misguided. That is what I would like to say in response to my good friend.
Okay, so you mentioned misguided. What happens to those that are misguided in the party, and as a result of being misguided, as you label it, it's creating there must be some sort of confusion where supporters are concerned. Do you think that this could also affect the general election? Because people are supporting the party, but then they're seeing one person saying, some people, supporters saying something in the party, other people saying other things in the party, like that sort of confusion with your supporters, or what's the advice, what's the word to them?
We are telling all our supporters, all our members, and the people of Trinidad and Tobago to remain laser focused on the mission, on the goals, and on the objectives of the United National Congress. We are facing what is called a dictatorship led by a prime minister called Keith Christopher Rowley, who is attempting to ride roughshod over our democracy. And we are telling not only our members, not only our supporters, not only our friends and well-wishers, but the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we cannot take an hour more than is necessary of Rowley and his band in the corridors of power. So we are preparing for general elections. The United National Congress is on the ground, mobilizing, organizing, preparing for any and every eventuality. That is how our party has to organize itself. These things that you have referenced, of course, you take them into consideration. But you have to keep your eyes focused on the big prize. And what is the big prize? The big prize is that the people want to exhale. They want to exhale. And they want general elections. And that is why the honorable political leader of the UNC has indicated April the 11th as the closing date for nominations. Anyone who's interested in fighting elections for the UNC, they have until April the 11th to submit their nomination papers. Because you know why? We are preparing for general elections whenever they are called.
So nobody will catch us in a surprising mode. So we are preparing for the immediate, we are preparing for the short, we are preparing for the interim or the intermediate and the long.
Yeah, just one question. You mentioned we will repeal property tax in Tobago.
No, I'm saying that the United National Congress has repeatedly stated on a consistent basis since 2009, for the last 15 years, that we are not only opposed to property tax, but we will repeal the property tax. And I made mention of a bill, which I can pass on to you, which was tabled in 2011. And if you go to clause 45 of that bill said the property tax is now repealed. So the party policy has always been one of repealing the property tax. That is all.
I have a follow-up question here with regard to the repeal of the property tax. MP Munilal mentioned in the Parliament about the difficulty with actually carrying that out. Could you just elaborate on that?
Now, that is a very important question that has been asked. Members of the media, the reach of the PNM is very long. I want to remind members of the media, between 2010 and 2015, Dr. Munilal indicated to Trinidad and Tobago the bureaucratic obstacles and hurdles that were put or placed in our pathway by PNM operatives between 2010 and 2015, just to allow us not to repeal the Property Tax Act. That is what happened. The PNM use their, and I know them, you know. I know them by name. I know the divisions that they worked in because I was a former speaker. And they are the ones who advise the legal committee of the cabinet, the subcommittee on legal matters, headed by Prakash Ramada. You cannot repeal the Property Tax Act. And they gave that committee and the members a suite of reasons why they could not repeal the Property Tax Act. It is not to say that we did not want to repeal the Property Tax Act whilst we were there. We brought a bill, which I'll pass on to you, called the Land and Building Tax Bill of 2011. And under clause 45, the last clause stated that the Property Tax Act is hereby repealed. So it was always the policy of the United National Congress and its partners under the People's Partnership to repeal the dreaded and draconian property tax. But the PNM had their operatives. The PNM had their agents in different ministries frustrating our efforts. That is why we were not able to repeal the Property Tax Act. But what I'm saying to you is that we are committed when we return to office after the next general elections to repeal the dreaded and draconian Property Tax Act. So I just wanted to make that point to the media. Members, as you know, I want, on behalf of the party, to bring greetings to the Christian community on the occasion of Palm Sunday. We know we are moving into that very important period of Christianity, the crucifixion and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And Palm Sunday is a very significant occasion for the Christian community. And on this occasion, and leading up to Easter, we would like to express greetings with our Christian brothers and sisters in Trinidad and Tobago and the region and the world as they have begun celebrating Palm Sunday, leading up to the crucifixion and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So on behalf of the United National Congress, we bring greetings to the Christian community on the beginning of this holy period leading up to the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Member of the media, is there any further question you'd like to raise? Anyone else would like to raise any question? Members of the media, may I indicate we are going to be executing through a debate, vigorously executing and articulating tomorrow in the Senate our position on the dreaded property tax. There is a debate starting at 1:30 on this matter, and our position will be made abundantly clear on that occasion. What I would say in closing, member of the media, is that this property tax constitutes, on a proper analysis of the facts, a whole attempt at hoodwinking the population, and the government, either wittingly or unwittingly, is engaging in what can be only described as constructive fraud against the people of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. We'll have more to say on that in that debate tomorrow. So members of the media, on behalf of the United National Congress, we would like to extend to Trinidad and Tobago